Why is it beeping at me already, David?
It's a tractor.
Where do you stand on the question of renationalising the energy companies? Very good. And what's your interest in the Tory leadership contest? None at all. None at all. You and half the country. Matt Chorley on Times Radio, down on the farm this morning with David Exwood on Westons Farm in Horsham. David, we've come to the cows. We've come to the incredible smell of the cows.
It is all about the smell, and that, of course, smell is muck, and that's why we have the cows. That's the crucial part they play in the farm. It's that manure for the crop, but also producing great beef as well.
So you're not milking these, this is producing meat to eat?
Absolutely. This is all about the beef, so this is all about producing, you know, a product, the beef on the shelf that you see in the supermarket. We supply that, and it's all about producing what people want.
Now, tell me about the costs then, because we've been talking before about the costs of, you know, fuel and so on for when you're producing the crops. In terms of the what's going into the cows, the feed, the water and so on, what's happened to the price of that?
So it's like everything else. The price has rocketed. So the cost of the fertiliser that we use on the grass, the cost of the fuel that we use to run the tractors that we look after them with, and we make all the silage and all the crops and the food. So pretty much everything we use, everything that goes into the cows has gone up massively, and it's running at about 20 to 30% inflation.
Is it?
Yeah, right across the board. That's an average.
Yeah.
You know, so fuel will be, you know, 100%. It's sort of doubled. Fertiliser's tripled. So many of the things have gone up, but everything we use is more expensive. Even a fence post. The cost of a fence post to keep the cows in is double what it was 6 months ago. So,
and why is that?
Timber. There's not enough timber in the world.
Really?
Yeah, so there's not enough grain in the world, so there's not enough timber in the world. A lot of the timber, it turns out, comes from Ukraine, Belarus, Russia. And so, yeah, so even keeping the cows in, we can't stop fencing. You know, we have to keep them in the field. So, yeah, that's just to give you an example. You know, a lot of people will see cattle as the baddies in the climate challenge we had ahead of us. Actually, we see it completely differently. It's that traditional mixed farming where the manure from the cattle fertilises the crops and the crops feed the cattle, and it goes around in one big circle and they all feed off each other. That is traditional mixed farming.
And what about that? Have you noticed any shift in what people are eating? You know, we hear a lot from vegans because they like to tell us that they're a vegan. But has there been a shift in the amount of meat that people are eating? Have you noticed, is there less demand for what you're producing?
No, I think the actual amount of meat that people eat has stayed remarkably consistent despite all the noise and the news. And certainly, you know, we've been getting a good price for our beef. What we have seen is a change in what they're buying. So cost of living crisis is real. So maybe they're buying less steak and more mince, you know. So what they buy is changed, but actually the volumes are broadly similar.
Matt Chorley from Times Radio. What do you think should be done about energy bills? Liz Truss or Rishi Sunak? Where do you stand on the... OK, no, thank you, madam. Where do you stand on the independence of the Bank of England? No. What about Manchester United? How do you think they're getting on? No, we're not doing very well with the Vox Pops.
So in this barn, we have many barns. In this barn, there is 800 tonnes of milling wheat. So this is wheat that would go for bread.
So how many loaves of bread can you make with this?
There's about 1 million loaves in this barn alone.
Wow.
I know. When we talk about food and producing food, that's what it looks like. So this one barn will create 1 million loaves of bread.
What sort of bread are we talking about? Is it posh loaves? Cheap loaves? You don't know. It just goes.
No. So this is we do very much know. So this is your standard white sliced loaf.
That's where.
Your white bread. There's many different types of bread. We grow different types of wheat for different types of bread, but for your standard white English loaf, this is your stuff.
And how's the harvest going so far this year in terms of the amount of grain that you're getting compared to what you would normally get? Are all the barns as full as you'd hope by this point in the season?
So actually, we've had a good harvest. The quality has been excellent with all the sun, and you need sun to get the quality. And our yield hasn't been too bad. We had just enough rain in May to keep it going, but I feel
explain what the word yield means.
Yield is the amount we get off a field, so the tonnes per acre.
Yeah.
So we've had the amount we would normally expect to get has been about right, but it's not the same for every farmer across the country. So you're always aware of not being too confident or proud of what you've achieved.
Now, David, we've left the cows. We now come to see the pigs.
Yep.
Hang on, the pigs seem to be out, David. I'm not a farming expert, but the pigs don't appear to be in their pen, all of them. Hello.
They're contained, but pigs kind of know how to do their own thing. They are the smartest animals on the farm. It's the old thing that pigs are equal with humans, and they very much are. They are great friends, and you can have a conversation with a pig, and they've come to talk to us this morning.
Do you prefer the pigs to the cows?
I love them all. It's like different things. No, it is. They're genuinely different. You have a different conversation with a pig than a cow. Is the answer to that?
Is that right?
Yeah. Pigs will talk back to you. Look, they come and have a chat this morning. They'll talk to me.
Yeah.
Cows will look at you with a certain amount of sort of, But as we saw, they'll only talk to you when they want to.
Never gone in for sheep?
Yeah, we have sheep,
Sheep as well.
We miss the sheep actually. Yes, we have sheep. Yeah,
Where do they fit in the pecking order of good conversationalists?
Sheep are the worst of all. sheep look at people with utter contempt, I think. They just like, oh, you lot, yeah. Whereas the pigs are just always your friend.
They really are. Well done. Hello, good morning to you. It's Matt Chorley A very good morning to you. It's old Matt Chorley on the farm this morning. We've left behind the farm shop. I'm now in the truck of David Exwood from Westons Farm in Horsham. David, we've come out to the fields.
We are. This is where the action's at this morning. We're at the last day of combining on the farm today. We've come out to where the combine's working and we're carting the grain back to the farm.
Okay, well, let's get out. Are we getting out of here?
Yeah, we are.
Let's get out of here. We'll get out of here. Lovely stuff. It's a beautiful, beautiful summer's morning down here before the storm comes. Luckily, not as swelteringly hot as it was before. And what's been? You see the great big green combine harvester just on the other side of the field. What's the harvesting?
So these are spring beans. So these were planted in. They're just because they were planted in the spring. So in March, and these are and they're a protein, and they can go for cattle feed or for humans to eat them. They're just they are dry beans.
Dry beans. And how long will it take to clear this field here?
A couple of hours at the most, I would hope. Not long.
And is this the last field, you said?
No, we got the one just beyond it over there, and then we got another one just over there. But sort of 2 o'clock, all done.
And explain a bit why is the price of fertiliser suddenly gone up? Is this a Ukraine? All roads lead back to Ukraine in the end?
It is all roads lead back to Ukraine. It's the cost of the energy that you need to make fertiliser. We all know what the price of gas has done. Well, if you use a lot to make fertiliser, it makes it more expensive. It's pretty straightforward. And what we've had this year is that combination of the political, the Ukraine, and the supply and weather. It's the weather and the war coming together has created lots of problems for farmers. I think politicians have taken food for granted for far too long. I think farmers know what a risky game it is. We're dependent on the weather and all these different factors. And everybody seems to have just completely ignored how vulnerable our food supply is. And it's taken a war and sort of widespread drought across the world for everybody to realise it's not quite as secure as we thought. So yeah, we do feel, I think it hasn't been at the forefront of enough people's minds.
The other impact of the drought, of course, is just how dry everything is. I mean, coming through a beautiful Surrey countryside this morning, it's just sheets of yellow where you'd expect green. And I know you've got a particular bugbear at the moment with sky lanterns. Even now, some idiot last night was letting off sky lanterns.
Quite unbelievable. So the Sussex Savannah is back. It is parched, it is dry, it is dusty. We're seeing fires all around all the time, and yet some people think it's a good idea to let a sky lantern off because it's a beautiful summer's evening. Just unbelievable. Frustrating, to put it mildly.
And there's a petition, isn't there, to try and get them banned?
Yeah, we have. So the NFU's been asking for them to be banned for some time. We're all for people being in the countryside, having a good time, but sky lanterns, there's no part of that, there's no need for that, and we would like to see them banned straight away. Look at that, that's bruchid beetle. So they bore it, they bore in and put holes in it. So you get too much bruchid beetle, it can't go for human consumption.
Oh, really?
Well, nobody wants to see holes.
Which presumably then cuts the cost.
Yeah, it does. Well, the value, yeah, no, it does. But that's fine. Doesn't really matter. We're insecticide free on this farm, Matt. It's one of my little things. We're trying to sort of balance up the food production with sort of the biodiversity on the farm. And one of the consequences is if you get a little bug, there's only so much you can do about it. But that's life. Still be all right. Anyway, there we are.
Nice.
They are as hot and still as hard as, like bullets. They're still dry.
So we're out of the combine and into the tractor. This is what I've come for. Obviously the combine is a much too big piece of kit, so they're not going to let me loose on that. But apparently I'm going to get to drive this splendid John Deere 6190R. Not the Massey Ferguson that Neil Parish may or may not have been Googling. It's got a nice smart trailer on his big green jobby, yellow wheels, just to paint you a picture. Why is it beeping at me already, David?
It's a tractor. They always beep. We'll ignore that. Right, foot on the brake,
Foot on the brake.
and then
Is it automatic?
it's automatic.
See, I was joking about this with Ruth Davidson last week because I said the first time I drove was a tractor. I think probably about 14,
Yep.
14, 15.
Yeah,
on my
yeah.
uncle's farm. It was all legal, isn't it? You're allowed to
Yeah,
do that.
absolutely. It's how many people learned how to drive?
Exactly right. But this is much swisher, I'd say.
Well, again,
because it's probably 15, 20 years
things
ago.
have moved on, yeah,
Yeah.
and you can go out in the field. We'll do a loop round.
Can
Yeah, go on.
Is
It's
this
all right.
going to get bumpy?
A little bit, but it's
Here
all
we go
right.
then. Come on then.
We've got suspension in the cab. It'll be okay.